Hello, welcome to my vlog. Today I'll be talking specifically about top lane, and then I'll have some final notes on what's happening with the channel afterwards. So, when I say we're going to talk about top lane, we're going to talk about the problems with top lane currently in the meta, the weaknesses of the lane, the current meta around it, like the champs that are played. So, specifically, let's start off with the champions. So we've got a lot of APs going top at the moment. What with Rise, Mundo. You could class Mundo as an AP to a point, but he's more of a tank. But he does a lot of AP damage. Rumble, Maokai, Lulu. There's a couple of slightly more specialized picks going in there. Like there's Kale, there's a Kali, and there's Kassadin, and there's Nidalee to a point, but she's more used as an AD. Now, overall, I don't mind the idea of APs going top, but they are pushing out other picks. Like, prior to this selection of champions, we had Shyvana, Mundo, Renekton, Trundle. So we had a pretty strong mix there of sort of bruisers and tanks, but there was only 4 of them, which meant that diversity was very lackluster. Now there's a lot of diversity, but there's not a lot of options in what you want to pick. There's a lot of APs and a very little AD. The biggest AD sort of bruiser fighter in the meta now is Aurelia. That's about it. It's like there's a couple that I sort of picked on the odd occasion, or I pick that I find that work. Like there's Yorick that I pick. There used to be Jax, but he doesn't work very much. Renekton I still pick on the odd occasion, but only into specific matchups. You see a lot of Riven in solo queue, but not in ranked 5s due to her weaknesses from a team play standpoint. Due to the fact she needs to snowball in lane to be particularly useful, and that's the problem with Riven. That's why you don't see her a lot in ranked 5s. But okay, let's focus on the selection that we've got from a meta standpoint, what we see mostly from a competitive ranked 5 standpoint. Not necessarily from a LCS standpoint or anything like that, but just generally, what do we see? We see Mundo, we see Rise, Rumble, Maokai, Aurelia, and Lulu. Okay, why do we see these? Mundo we see because he's a tank that can survive AP lanes, because he can farm with his cleaver. He's very safe. He's also very good against APs because he stacks health, and health is known as a very good itemization against APs compared to just going straight into magic resist. Magic resist is very strong, but a lot of APs in top lane will build straight into magic pen really early because they're against the tank. They need to. Health counters magic pen to a point, not completely, but it certainly helps a lot more than going full into magic resist. Mundo also benefits heavily from the itemization of magic resist items as it is in the meta, what with Spirit Visage and Banshees to a point, less so with the Banshees, but particularly with the Spirit Visage because it increases his passives regen as well as his ults regen. So that's Mundo. Rise we see because he's got a lane bully kit. He doesn't have skill shots, so you can throw stuff at your enemy and not worry about missing. He does a lot of damage. He scales very well and costs a lot of teams are building more hyperscaling AD carries from bot lane. It's kind of better to have a top laner that scales later on into the game, because if they fall off, then you've not got quite as powerful of a team comp later on. Yeah, you can get away with the other champions with these hyperscale ADs, but if you really want to dominate late game, you need champions that scale really well, and Rise does, and it's because of the fact that he scales off mana. So you build literally all you need from a lane perspective is your Tear of the Goddess and a Rod of Ages, and you've set up your lane as Rise. That's as long as you've got those 2 items by, I think it's about 16 minutes, you're fine. You'll scale really well into late game. And he's a lane bully. He gets away with it. Like it's very easy for him to bully out laners, very easy for him to come out of lane ahead. He he completely stops a lot of tanks from going top lane. Like you can't take Shyvana very easily into him. You can't take Renekton very easily into him. You can beat Ryze as Renekton, but you're never going to scale as well as he is. So you won't be as useful, and he'll just outscale you later on about 35 minutes in. Even if you do smash him around a bit in lane and actually bully the Ryze instead of him bullying you. So that's kind of the reason Ryze is picked. He's basically, he works in this meta because it's all about scaling and waiting till that 35 minutes generally. He's also strong mid game. He's strong early to a point. I think his early is where you've got to exploit him though. If you can exploit his early, then you might actually stand a better chance against him. Why is Rumble picked? Rumble's picked because he's got relatively safe laning. Like, if he's bullied around, he can just farm with harpoons. He builds magic resist very early. No, magic pen very early, so he's very good against things like Mundo. He's strong against the Maokai, and he's very good at pushing people around in lane once he gets his items. His early's a little bit messed up because Q does very little damage and E does very little damage, but as you level up you start doing more damage and your Q literally just murders people in lane. Like, if someone walks in and takes an entire flame spitter in lane, they lose quarter if not half of their HP bar very quickly. Because he builds magic pen very early, like his core item is Liandry's, Rylai's, and Zhonya's. That he builds those three items in pretty much every game, and Liandry's, the amount of damage he gets from that item is ridiculous because he's constantly reapplying it and it's constantly doing more damage for every single flame spitter tick that he's putting on them. So he's doing like 100 damage per second or 150, I can't remember exactly, at late game. It's ridiculous how much damage he's doing per second with a Liandry's and Q. The Rylai's is so that he's got the slows, and that then increases the damage with the Liandry's later on. So it makes him stronger, it makes him tougher as well a little bit because it gives him some health with the Liandry's. The Rylai's makes him a little bit tankier because of the health, and then of course the Zhonya's is from a tank standpoint, so that he can go in, soak up some damage and then Zhonya's and dodge skill shots or whatever. So yeah, Rumble's very strong. He works into Ryze to a point. It's sort of a mixture, but overall Rumble wins out on that lane, which is good. And because of that, Rumble's one of the few picks that actually does work into the Ryze. And it makes the lane very easy. It's early on, it's very tough for Rumble, but once he gets a few points in Flame Spitter, he can start rushing into the Ryze and start bullying Ryze around instead of Ryze bullying the Rumble. So it's a relatively good lane for the Rumble there. Now Maokai, why is he taken? Because he's a tank. His passive gives him an awful lot of health back during lane. His laning is incredibly safe because of that. Because all it takes is for him to cast a few spells, and as long as you don't lose too much health to those spells, you're just going to hit a minion, regain 7% of your maximum health, I believe it is. And yeah, you do that every, I think it's 5 spell casts. So, and that's quite easy because your Q's pretty spammable in lane. You build a Rod of Ages, so you get tanky, you get mana, you get some form of sustain due to it being from a catalyst, and it gives you a bit of AP, which makes your laning a little bit stronger. He also does max health damage with his W. He has a slow with E, and slow with Q, a snare W. His ult is ridiculous. It's like, I can't remember the percentage, it's just like 15% reduced damage from all effects. So from a teamfight standpoint, Maokai is retarded because he basically, he just goes in and he tanks up so much damage so easily, along with taking the tanky masteries. He basically just doesn't die. And then, of course, because everyone's casting spells, he's hitting someone. Every auto attack and regaining 7% of his health. Every auto attack. There's never a point where he's not regenerating his health, because he's constantly hitting somebody. Yeah, you'll eventually kill him, but he's reducing so much damage that focusing him is never really a good thing unless you've honestly got no other option. If he gets big, he's nigh unkillable. He just walks into your team and just goes, well, I'm a tree and I'm going to hit you. You can't do anything about it. Maokai is really strong in this meta because of that. He's also okay against the APs. As I said, he does struggle a little bit against Rumble, but he can beat the Rumble very easily as well. Don't know a huge amount about Maokai into Rise, but overall I've always felt that Maokai does win later on in the lane, once again, similar to the Rumble. It's just, early on, it's a little bit rough. So yeah, Maokai's the tank of this meta, essentially, and then there's the Aurelia pick. Aurelia is picked because she gets free stats due to her passive. She gets 40% CDR when there's 4 champions, I think it is, or it's 3. So that's a lot of tenacity. She basically walks through people. You don't need to build merc treads on her necessarily every game unless there's a lot of hard CC, like say Rammus Taunts, Fiddle Fears, that sort of thing. Overall, she's very strong. She gets a lot of free stats. She's got sustain in lane. She can fight against some of these APs. Like, out of any of these picks, she's probably the one that can beat everyone else from a lane perspective, as long as she doesn't fall too far behind. Like, Rise, you beat Rise as Aurelia at level 6 because as long as you come back full health at level 6, you can engage on him and blow him down to quarter health quite easily, maybe kill him quite easily because you'll have the burst. As long as you've got Sheen, you'll be able to you'll be able to push him out of lane or kill him at level 6, level 7, and then you'll continue to do that every time your ult's up. You'll jump on him, you'll start getting him to blow summoners, blow anything that you possibly can, and get him out of that lane, because you've got the power to do so. And then you go back, you start farming, you sustain, you go back, you then come back and you do it again, and then you keep doing that, rinse and repeat. You can fight the Maokai, because once again you can push Maokai around early on as Aurelia. You can also fight him later on because you do true damage and that doesn't get reduced by the ult. You can survive his damage and you can generally fight him for the most part. It's an okay lane. I'm not a big fan of doing Aurelia into Maokai though, overall. But you can win it as Aurelia quite easily, especially if you get a lead. Aurelia can beat Rumble. It just takes a little bit of messing around. You've got to be very careful about how you position in lane, so you don't get hit by too many harpoons, and you don't take the full ticks from the flame spitter. And you've naturally got to be a little bit careful of engaging him without being able to dodge out of his ulti or flame spitter during fights. Once again, it's a tough matchup, and Rumble does win it a lot of the time, but if you're good with Aurelia, you can win that matchup quite often. Especially if you get a lead. If you get a lead, you'll just roll over Rumble very easily. It's easy for him to turn it around, but you can roll over him. And then Aurelia into the Mundo, it's very sort of hit and miss. I've always thought of that as more the farm lane of the meta. You will just sit there and you will just farm against each other, because unless Aurelia oversteps, Mundo can't kill Aurelia, and unless Mundo oversteps, Aurelia can't kill Mundo. It's as long as neither overstep their boundaries and don't overextend too much, they can't kill each other really. As long as, like, the only way that Mundo wins that matchup is by landing a cleaver and chasing her down the entirety of the lane with ult. In which case, Aurelia can get away from it by stunning and then just rushing away. But that's about the only way Mundo can win that matchup. from a just killing her standpoint. Otherwise, they just farm each other. And once again, same goes for Aurelia. The only way that Aurelia wins that matchup is to for Mundo to overstep, waste his ult at some point, and for Aurelia to take that opportunity and kill him. Because if Mundo's got ult, Mundo's not going to die, not unless you've got Ignite, and because the meta revolves around TP, from a 5 standpoint anyway, you're never going to have Ignite in top lane, really. Not unless you honestly feel like your team can get away with that TP, but because TP is too powerful, most teams just don't not take it. It's essential. You need to take TP in this meta. Specifically because otherwise you lack recovery if you get pushed out and you don't have the ability to move around the map and make plays for your team on, say, dragons and such. Overall, I think TP's a bit meh. I'm not a huge fan of this meta because of TP, and I think a lot of the champions come into play due to TP. But yeah, oh well. Anyway, well, and then the final pick. I don't know. I think Lulu is more of a specialist pick, personally, but it does work against some lanes. But from my point of view, Lulu is that champion you pick if you do not want to fight your enemy laner, because the whole point of a Lulu lane is to simply just push it. That's all you're doing. You're just pushing it with Q constantly. Pushing it into the tower and stopping them from actually making any plays. You're not necessarily going to stop them from farming as such. You're not going to bully them around as much as, say, a Ryze will, but you're going to keep them under their tower for the most part. As long as you don't overstep yourself, you'll just keep shoving the lane constantly, and they will not be able to engage on you properly. And if they do, you turn around, you ult yourself, you polymorph them in all that stuff and run away. You can kill some of the laners, like Lulu's known to be good against Ryze to a point, because you just keep shoving him under his tower. I don't think you'll ever stop Ryze from farming in that lane, though. That's the only problem, which means that Ryze will outscale you. You're just a second support is Lulu, which I'm not a big fan of. So I don't play Lulu top. Don't like it. It's not my style. I don't like the idea of being that second support for my team. That's not what I play top to be. I play top to be a tank or a fighter, which is also why I'm not a big fan of this meta, because of APs. I don't mind Rumble, I don't mind Maokai, I don't mind Mundo, but I'm not a big fan of Ryze, and I don't like Lulu. I play Ryze because he's kind of essential in this meta. You've got to be able to play him, really, because he's just too strong to ignore in the current meta. But yeah, Lulu, you just shove down the lane. You don't let them fight you. You don't let them make too many plays. You stay nearby for the most part, so that if they do look for a TP somewhere, you can rush in and polymorph them and stop them. But for the most part, you're just shoving it and trying to get that tower. It's probably by about 20 minutes. And then making TP plays after pushing and stuff. That's essentially what a Lulu lane does. And then, of course, in team fights, you're there as a second support, so you're protecting your AD carry or your AP carry, or making your tank beefier. Lulu is a good pick top if you're taking, say, a Yasuo mid. Because you send your jungler in. Let's say you run a meta, you run a Kha'Zix jungle, Lulu top, Yasuo mid, and let's say, I don't know, let's go with a typical Nami Tristana bot lane. That has incredible engage, because Kha'Zix jumps in with wings, evolve, and Lulu ults him. You've got probably a guaranteed 3 knockups. That's then Yasuo's engage in. You've got your Tristana off to the side shooting them, and you've got your Nami to protect the Tristana, and you've got Lulu off to the side alongside them on the back line, throwing out Qs, polymorphing people that come forward, and generally just stopping people from getting close to the Tristana. And that's a pretty good team comp. The only reason my team doesn't run it is because I don't play Lulu. I don't like Lulu, and I doubt I ever will. I don't like the idea of her. But I can see why she's strong in this meta, and it makes sense. But yeah, overall, there is problems. There's strengths to this meta. Like, there's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of options. There is a few unique picks that I pick. Like, I pick a lot of Yorick in this meta because although he doesn't scale terribly well later on, he does push people around. He's good against Rumble because if Rumble's not facing you because he's running away from ghouls, he's not burning you with flame sputter. Yeah, you get the general gist though. He's also strong with the hyper carries because he can put down his ult on them and revive them, so very good with the Jinx, whom some people regard as a hyper carry. I'll talk more about that next in another video when I'm talking about bot lane. But yeah, Yorick I quite like in this meta. I'm not a big fan of playing him, but my team sees strength in him, so I pick him. There's also things like there's Gnar, who is shifting into this meta, but I'm not a big fan of him. He's kind of a mixture between, say, a Renekton lane and a Nidalee lane, before Nidalee got nerfed last patch. That's kind of the way I see Gnar. He's a good champion, but I'm not a big fan of him, personally. And then there's champions like Akali as well, who some people pick, but he has a rough laning phase overall. Good pick, but has a rough laning phase. If she gets ahead though, she kills just about anyone, easy peasy. So yeah, the top lane has a lot of diversity in this meta. It's a lot of APs, which I'm not a big fan of. I preferred it when it was more fighters like Shyvana, Renekton, Rylea, Jax, that sort of thing. APs is not what I play top to be. But yeah, there's a good level of diversity. Final notes though, anyway, because I'm going to finish this off shortly. I did release a video yesterday, a Ryze top lane video. However, there was some audio issues, so I'll be redoing the edit on that, I think, and fixing it. Because it was a good video, it's just I don't know, something happened during the edit, so I'm gonna fix that at some point today. And then I'm looking to do some other series, but these vlogs will probably happen weekly, so one a week, maybe two a week, depends what I want to do. If I want to go on to finer points during like a certain thing, so for instance, if I wanted to do another vlog this week, it'd be another top lane one, but it'll be focusing more on the current, like a specific champion or a specific matchup, talking about it and explaining the finer points of the matchup, maybe showing some information on it. Yeah, that's the sort of idea at the moment, but currently I'm looking at basically doing my replay analysis, which will just be me talking about a matchup and then the rest of the game, and then these vlogs, which I'll do weekly, and that's the general idea at the moment. I'm looking at doing other series as well, but these are the two that I'll primarily be doing because I feel like they've got uses to some people, and I can give out some good information during them as well. So yeah, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I will see you next time.